Welcome, everybody. So glad you're here, and so glad that Sandy and Brink are going to bring us some wonderful poetry today. As I mentioned in the service, April is National Poetry Month, so it's a particular delight to hear Sandy's work. And we did this years ago, maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, down in the library, and I just remember it getting so crowded that we had to keep moving chairs in, so we're so glad that you'll do it again for us, and that it'll be filmed so that we can watch it. People who can't be here today will be able to do that. So let's welcome them.
I am the psalmist, the singer of songs. Upon the soul's aching whiteness, I sketch with sure charcoal strokes. Across the spirit's searching quietness, I dance with silvered star steps. Within the mind's reaching vastness, I sing with sword-bright music. I am the word painter. I am the sound dancer. I am the bright bringer. I am the light that sings. Much of my inspiration for poetry is come from my faith. And as we enter the Easter season, I would like to share some of it with you. As we started the Easter Vigil celebration, we were reminded of the creation story from Genesis. One of my favorite pictures in life is Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, where God is reaching out for the hand of man. And it inspired my poem, Reaching. In the beginning, God. God stepped out of the black and cried, I am I. Like a jeweler's velvet, crystal strewn with the light of the sun and the stars and the moon, God saw the light and asked with a sigh, now who can see that I am I? Silence was warm in the golden day, and silence was soft when the night held sway. But no one answered God. So he roamed the earth, and life began. It swam and crawled and flew and ran. But no one reached for his outstretched hand till man stepped out of the cave of his soul and raised his hand to the ebon bowl that arched to infinity over his head. I am I, he said. And how will each of us find God? Have you ever stood outside on a bright, clear night with awe and looked up at the billions of stars and millions of light years away and wondered about God and heaven? The foundling, where is God? I'll never track him across the vaulted black of heaven where stars and years step onto forever. I'll never find him there, however far I go or fast. The universe is just too vast. Here's the Christ child. Now I see God's in a manger and he's found me. As we enter the Easter season, I would like to share with you 4 views of the cross from people who were there. Oh, excuse me for a second. I am Barabbas. Listen to me. There were 2 of us that night, you know, held in the torchlit smolder glow in the dark below, all filled with faces hating. Release unto us Barabbas, they said, while he stood there in a crown that bled. Fools, fools, they couldn't see the difference between him and me. One of us went to die, you know, hung beneath the thunder sky show, and the dark below all filled with death birds baiting. Come down if you're God, they cawed and cried, while he hung on my cross and died. Fools, fools, can't you see the difference between him and me? One of us went free, you know, given new days to see, and oh, the brightness of the dawning glow, emptied of the death awaiting. He was the lamb that was slain, and I was the one let go. I'm no fool, and I know, for he was truly the Son of Man, teacher, healer, God. And all the plan of his life was bent to the place of the skull where he was sent. Beautiful fool, didn't you see the difference between thee and me? For I was merely the son of a man, rebel, thief. Oh, God, and all the plan of my life was bent to the place of the skull where I should have been sent. Jesus Christ died, and Barabbas went free. Ah, fools, now do you see the difference was eternity.
I am Peter, the fisherman. 3 times beside the strong blue sea, he asked me, "Do you love me?" "Aye, Lord, aye, aye." I don't know why I cried. Peter the rock had pride. I am Peter, the fisherman. 3 times beneath the black, bitter sky, they asked me, "Do you know him?" And thrice I did reply, "Not I, not I, not I." The cock crowed twice. He's going to die. He's going to die. I don't know why I lied. And Peter the rock crumbled inside. But now I know why he died. Love cannot be denied. And I am Peter, the fisher of men.
I am Mary, the Magdalene. While it was yet dark, to the garden I came with another whose name was the same as mine. Yet it was never the same to him, for he knew us all by our name within. That special name that says that she is different from you or me, and by that calling all our own, each to us as God is known. While it was yet dark in my life, he came. He saw me, and he saw my name, and darkness never was the same. I followed him through Galilee, across the hills and by the sea, where he fed the hungry and cured the lame, yet never cast a stone in blame, although his promised throne became the rack of a cross where he hung in shame. I stood by that cross. I watched him die. Oh God, were you watching and weeping as I? Darkness fell and the sky turned black, and I think the sun never will come back. My gentle shepherd they slew like a lamb. Now he is gone, and I don't understand. When they laid him in the tomb alone in that final dark of flesh and bone, I was stopped before a stone. I who followed could follow no more, for rolled between us was death's dark door. Now I bring spices, bitter and sweet, for his rent hands, for his torn feet. But where's the light he shed in my heart? Dark pierces like nails and tears me apart. But look, the stone is rolled away. The tomb is empty, and who can say where he is gone and where he does lay?
Woman, why weepest thou?
I weep for my master. Oh, sir, can you say where they have laid him, who bore him away?
Woman, whom seekest thou?
I seek my gentle Lord. Where can he be? You work in the garden. Oh, sir, did you see who rolled back the stone and took him from me? Where he is gone now I never will find. I cannot see well, sir. My eyes are tear blind. It is so dark without and within. They took all the brightness away within.
Mary.
Oh, Lord, it surely is thee. My heart is full bright, and now I can see. Run, I must run to tell Peter and John. Darkness is over, for you are the dawn. You rolled yourself the stone away, and it is day, beautiful day. While it was yet dark in the world you came, and you said we were loved and whole and sane. And Lord, you even knew my name.
Centurion, that's who I am. Leader of 100 men, armored, sandaled soldier of Rome, serving here so far from home. The gods must laugh, for here I stand, executioner of the Jews condemned. Why am I in this forsaken land? The place of the skull they call this hill, and I can say they named it well. I thought I knew all there was of dying, but on this day died black and gray, amid murmurs of the women crying. The man's red blood has dried to rust and mingled with the hillside dust, on nails driven through hands and feet. He hangs in death, but not defeat. Blood no longer rushes from his cold, pierced side. Surely this man awful death has died. Centurion, that's who I am, leader of 100 men. I order them to do my will, and they obey. They fight until they reach the goal, though they may die. Because I order, they comply. Yet this man hangs there willingly. Why did he do it? I just don't see. Some say he's saving you and me. How can that be? Pilate hung a sign proclaiming the news that this man was the king of the Jews. His course is run, all done his test. See his head now gently rest in peace upon his quiet chest. Rest at last, King, poor thing. And through your pain and agony, as you hung upon that wretched tree, you asked your God with certainty to forgive us all for wounding thee. Strange crown to wear there, buried in your forehead bare. Thorns, nails, Roman lance, all make sure there is no chance he lives. And yet, I wonder. Centurion, that's who I am, leader of 100 men, and never have I ever seen another man as this has been. But now the sky is black, the stones are shaking, the winds are raging, the earth is quaking. More than earth and stones are shaking. Something in my soldier's soul is breaking. I looked into your aching eyes and saw, what could it be? Could it be that you pitied me? I heard you cry out to your God in pain. Did you cry out to him in vain? Why have you forsaken me? Though the pain in your body was agony, it was the pain in your soul that I could see. Yet at the end, with dignity, you cried out again. I could hear it. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. I know not where your kingdom lies. It is not here. I looked in your eyes. When you are there, where'er it be, I ask you to remember me. Centurion, that's who I am, leader of 100 men. I am no Jew, but I can say I watched the Son of God die today.
Borrowed. Jesus lived on borrowed time, though he had eternity. He borrowed a barn to be born in, and until he was 33, he borrowed the simple life of a man who lived in Galilee. Where he walked, the blind saw, the dumb talked. When he spoke, the deaf heard, the dead awoke. He borrowed 5 loaves and 2 fishes and fed 5,000 men. He borrowed a cup of well water that no one should thirst again. When he was tried, they borrowed his crimes, for he had none of his own. They borrowed his robe from a lesser king, and they borrowed his bleeding crown. He gave us the bread and the water of life in exchange for gall and a lancer's knife. When he was dead, they borrowed his tomb, which was only right, for you see, when they needed a place to hang him, he borrowed my cross from me. Love was too bright for the darkness of death. Love was too strong for a stone. Jesus borrowed one more thing that was my very own. For 3 days he borrowed death, that I might forever be free. Love is the light in the empty tomb, and now I can see the gift that came from God for me. Besides my faith, the greatest inspiration I've had as a poet has been my family, especially my children. It is amazing the wisdom you can get if you really watch and listen to your children. And the little child will lead them. For example, at the age of 5, Wendy, my middle daughter, brought home a Thanksgiving drawing of her family. In her straightforward, solid way, she explained, "I have the world's best mommy, and the world's best daddy, and the world's best big sister, and the world's best little sister, and I am the world's best self." And one night when I was putting Ginger to bed and had turned off her light, her voice came softly from her bed, "Mommy, why am I so lucky?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "Well, I'm smart, and I've never been stung by a bee. And oh, just lots of things," she answered. "I think you're lucky because you know how to be happy," I said. "You mean I'm lucky because I look on the bright side, right, Mommy?" "You're lucky because you are the bright side, honey." And she sat up and hugged me and said, "And you're lucky because you have me." Indeed, I am. One day when Ginger was in the 3rd grade, she asked me, "Mommy, what is regret?" After several unsuccessful attempts to explain regret in prose words, clearly I needed help. So I picked up my brush and painted regret in red, white, and blue. The ball. A long time ago, I don't know quite when my soft haze of childhood was between 5 and 10, and I don't know quite where I was, but I see myself out by a wall, by a tree. But one thing in my mind I can see just as clear as if it were right now in front of me here, a ball, a big ball, so wonderfully round and making the loveliest sprungity sound as it bounced down and up and down on the ground. It was striped like the flag with red and blue bars, and all around its middle was a row of white stars. And I almost can feel a slam boomity whack as it hit on my hand with a sensuous smack. But that can't be right. No, that just can't be. For I never did bounce that ball, don't you see, as I stood by the wall in the shade of the tree. Another girl had it out there in the sun. She was the one bouncing it, having such fun, while I was just watching and wanting to be. As I leaned on the wall beneath the dark tree, I was just wishing that maybe I could bounce it too once or twice, and maybe she would let me play too and join in her fun. But what if she wouldn't let me be the one to share her bright ball and the sky and the sun? Just think of the ball that might have been. If what I know now, I could have known then. If only I had, if only I tried, if only I hadn't been so scared inside that I never said anything, nothing at all, as I hid in the darkness and kicked at the ball. And anyway, who cares about your old ball? So I never did ask, and I really can't say what her answer was on that long ago day. She might have said yes, but I never would know, as I hid in the darkness and rubbed on my toe. And all through the long years between now and then, I've wished back that day between 5 and 10. And this time I'd ask her, that's all. I'd step out of the dark of the tree by the wall, I'd ask her, and then I could say how it felt to be bouncing and sharing that day. And finally, there's some portraits painted in plaid, glimpses of my 3rd daughter, Heather McGregor. Heather McGregor, not quite 3, reflecting upon her bandaged knee and raising high one little palm, announced with a Rodin thinker's calm, "You can't put a Band-Aid on the sky. It's too high." She said it as an observation, allowed no denial or equivocation. Between the sky and a little nurse knee, there was a difference she could see. But hurts go deep as girls grow tall. So perhaps she'll think when she's not so small that I can't help with tape and a kiss to ease the pain of a sky-high miss. But not too far above to reach with love, whatever hurt your heart held by. The heather sky is not too high, never too high for Mommy to try. And then there were the tears of a little girl as her mommy tucks her in bed. night light. Can God hear my prayers with the light off? Heather asked with a look in her eyes that recalled to my mind all the night times when I was a girl just her size. And well, I remember the small fears that grew into monstrous creatures of fright when prayers were all said and Mommy would leave and turn off the bedroom light. I said, Heather, don't worry a minute. Don't be afraid of the dark. There's that one thing in it that wasn't there at the start. God sees very well with the light off, much better than parents can do. So I'll leave the door open a little, then I can peek at you. Mommy, see how the light from the hallway comes in through that wee little crack? Now I can look out through the small way, and the dark isn't really so black. And she sighed as she slipped beneath the cover, happily halfway asleep. The dark of her fears was now over, and safe in my love she would keep. No, Lord, when my soul has grown weary, and the child I still am would go free, don't let it be all dark, Lord. Leave a crack in the door for me. And have you ever been on a sandbox safari? Heather McGregor, 3 feet high, like a shining ball bounced toward the sky, with the sun of playmate, a cloudish stuffed toy. She skimmed the earth on the tiptoes of joy. A pail and a shovel swung from her hand, while the world was calling from a box of sand. Hip on one foot, hop on the other, dancing ahead of just walking mother. All at once her skipping stopped, like the sudden quiet of a spinning top which a finger halted in mid-whirl, and there she stood, a little girl, brought to earth and down to size by a monster appearing before her eyes. What good from a mother's vast height to explain that the monster was only a friendly Great Dane. Look, a giant dog, she said, in a too quiet voice from her lower head. So I knelt down beside Heather McGregor to face the giant dog together. And from where she stood, she was very right. From 3 feet high, it was quite a sight. Mostly fangs and an open jaw and advancing upon us paw by paw. Till there we stood all eye to eye, Heather McGregor, the dog, and I. But right in the pointy teeth of her fear, Heather reached out to pat its ear. See, she said with bright relief, he didn't lick me with his teeth. Then off she swung with her shovel and pail as the giant dog waved its giant tail off to the sun and the sand and the sky, Heather McGregor, 3 feet high. And down in the sandbox without a care, she began moving mountains from here to there. Bending low, she asked with concern, am I too big to pet the worm? Go right ahead. She'll like it fine. I watched her finger trace the living line that flowed in blind fear away from the 3-foot girl who just wanted to play. So big or little, who's to say? A giant or a worm is all in the way one is inside and not without, and that's what size is all about. And growing isn't just in feet. Growing is when we walk up to meet the big things in life that we really fear and give them a gentle tap on the ear. Heather McGregor is 3 feet tall, but never let us say she's small. Life's brave adventurer with the plastic shovel, she and the world are exactly eye level. And finally, there was a night that Daddy tried to tell Heather the story of Heather and the 3 bears.
The operative word there is tried. It was time for snuggles and stories and such, as the sleepy sun lay down to touch the lowest hill with a soft orange yawn, nodded once, and day was gone. Heather McGregor lay sprawled on the floor, a visiting nurse of just turned 4. Before her rested her patient, Ted, an old yellow bear with a cold in the head, and a pin in the paw where the threads had worn thin, so the stuffing was generally more out than in. How's Ted been today? Daddy asked the small nurse. His paw is better, but his cold is worse. I think what he needs is a story, she said. Stories are good for a cold in the head. So they climbed beside Dad in the warm brown chair, with just room for Daddy and Heather and Bear. Let me see now. How shall I start? Once upon a time, Daddy, you know that part. All right, said Dad. Excuse me. All right, said Dad. Here's the story for you. It's not about one bear or even two. It's about 3 bears, and you know who. Goldilocks, whispered Heather to Ted's wrapped ear, and then held him closer so he could hear. No, said Dad. I'm afraid that's not quite the girl I've in mind for my story tonight. My girl has blonde hair, but it doesn't curl, so my Goldilocks must be some other girl. She's just your size, Heather, and just your age, too. In fact, I think she might be you. Me, shuddered Heather, squeezing poor Ted. I think Goldilocks ought to go instead. She's been there before and she'd like to go. I might get lost by myself, you know, but if I did go out for a walk, I'd take Ted along so we could talk. Go by myself? No, I'd better not. Can't Ted come too? He'd like it a lot. Right, said Dad. So Ted and Heather decided to go for a walk together. But not in the woods, Daddy. Woods are dark. Ted much prefers to walk in the park, and real bears don't like parks to live in, so we couldn't find their house to go in to eat all the porridge and break the small chair. Besides, Ted is much too shy a bear to sleep in a bed that wasn't his own, so I think we probably just walked home and had milk and cookies with Mommy instead. He likes cookies better than porridge, she said. Right, said Dad. That's a good place to end. Mom likes having cookies with you and your friend. Daddy, beamed Heather, that story was good. Tomorrow let's try Little Red Heatherhood. Though I'm not fond of wolves, a dog would be better, but not a great big one, warned Heather McGregor. Suppose that it's Maggie, the beagle, we meet. Teddy and Maggie both like to eat goodies from baskets and that sort of stuff. Small girls and Grammys aren't sweet enough. Right, said Dad. I've been thinking myself that Maggie the beagle would make a nice wolf. But now, Ted, it's time for a nurse that I know to carry her patient where yellow bears go, with a cold in the head and a pin in the toe. Right, said Heather. Come along, Ted. It's time all good little bears went to bed. So the 3 went snuggled up the stair. Daddy hugged Heather, and Heather hugged Bear. He tucked them safely in their own trundle bed, with her hand round his paw and her cheek by his head. Good night.
And let me close with a glimpse of our salvation. Greater love hath no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. The Father of lights stretched forth his hand. Let there be, he said, and there was. It was good, but it was not enough. The Son of Light held out his hand. Let me love, he said, and he did, and he died. That was enough.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Well, I better get rid of this thing first.